19mm socket, remove off of your lug nuts, and then take the wheel off. Next, I want to remove this lower ball joint nut. So take the cotter pin off, discard it, always use a new one. 17mm socket, take the nut off. With this nut on a few threads, take a hammer, hit the knuckle so that you can separate the control arm from the ball joint. Careful of the ball joint boot. I'm going to leave this on even though it is separated at this point, and I want to move on to removing the strut bolt, 17mm also, both on the bolt and on the nut side. A lot of times these are seized in there, so hopefully yours isn't, just like mine. Tap it out. A little trick is you can use a wrench and your socket and unthread it while pulling out on the wrench. That usually gets it out. We also have to take the sway bar link off. Thankfully, mine is new. A lot of times they are rusted and rotted. It's a good idea to have a new sway bar link if that's the case for you, if it's rotted and you have to take it off. So either way, I'm gonna hammer the fork for the strut forward so that I can have enough room for a tool in here. There we go. 15mm socket. For you, it might be a 14. Since this is an aftermarket sway bar link, it'll be a different size. Set that aside. Let's remove the 17mm bolt that holds the rear control arm bushing on. At the front, I'm going to use a 17 wrench, and at the back, 17 socket. There's a washer on the front of it, as well as the nut, of course. Drive the bolt out. There it is. There's a washer on the bolt side as well. And last one at the front, you have a 19mm bolt and 19mm nut at the top that I'm going to hold with my wrench. Take this out. At this point, I'm going to remove the ball joint nut that I left on there for safety. Finish popping the ball joint out. There we go. Push the knuckle to the side, and then just kind of wiggle the control arm out of here. There you have it. Now for this bushing, it has to press out this way, and because it has this lip that goes around here, I can't get a cup to sit here to basically receive the bushings. So what I'm going to do, you can do multiple things at this point, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and peen the edges in on the bushing on the outer lip here, and hopefully that will allow me to fit a cup. Here's the end result. What that did is it made it so that I can slide a cup from a ball joint press right over this end, and the press will push the bushing through. So here's my setup. Receiving cup, control arm with bushing, 27mm socket, which fits perfectly for this application to press the bushing out, and then a little spacer so that I can get more height here, because unfortunately for my application, that bushing up here is going to hit the top of the press, so that's why that's there. You don't actually need all these, but I do. Hopefully you don't. Anyway, let's apply some pressure and hopefully this breaks free. Okay, that's pretty much out of there. Get this out. Bushing's out. Now I just have to get my socket back out of there. To press this bushing in, you want to press on this outer lip that we had to peen in when removing. And I have this cup from a ball joint press that fits perfectly over that. And The reason you don't want to press in the middle is because, well, it's just rubber holding this to this, so it'll break it and it'll press through. So make something happen to press on the outside. It's fully bottomed out. Release pressure. Take this out. Let's take the control arm and put it back. I'm going to slide the front bushing in first. Tilt it down and pivot it around. And then well, somehow I was able to line up this rear bolt. So I'm going to put that one in first, I guess. Go ahead and put the washer and the nut on this side. I'm not going to tighten it. I just want to put it on here. That way it's secured at least. Next I want to line up the ball joint and the strut fork on the bottom. There we go. The ball joint just dropped in. Get the fork to line up. The bolt went in front to back. You can put anti-seize on the shank of the bolt if you want. Get this started. You can lower the support now. I'm going to put the ball joint nut on as well. I'm not going to tighten it yet. I'm just going to put it on there. And now we're going to lower this. I lowered my support a little bit. We're going to lower the whole vehicle onto this, straighten up this control arm. If you're on the ground, you can just jack it up at this point, and that'll force the front bushing to line up. I'm going to take a long pry bar and a hammer, and I'm just going to hammer this bushing into place. There we go, that straightened it out. Now you can just drive this bushing in a little further. The bolt's pretty much lined up. I'm going to drive it in with my hammer. Here's a little trick I learned to get these bolts to line up. Put your socket on super long extension, and you can use that for leverage. You can't see it, neither can I, but at the top put on your washer and then the nut. And now we can tighten everything up. Since I'm here, might as well tighten this one. .47 for this front bushing. Looks like I'm already there. All right. For this one, I'm going to raise the control arm up at ride height so that I can properly torque this bushing without putting it in an awkward bind. I don't want it to prematurely wear. And then we'll do the same for that rear bushing. The same thing applies. I'm going to snug this one up and then torque it to 32 foot-pounds. While I'm here, might as well do the ball joint. This one is 61 foot-pounds. And make sure you line up the cotter pin slot. To line it up, always tighten, never loosen if it doesn't line up fully. There we go. This one's lined up. Let's put a brand new cotter pin in. As always, bend it over to lock it in. With this control arm still at ride height, let's tighten up this rear bolt. It's going to be hard to get a torque wrench in here. So the torque is 76 foot-pounds. I'm just going to make it nice and snug with my, I can't even fit the air gun in there. Just going to make it nice and snug with the air gun. Let's get the sway bar link in. Tighten it up. I didn't leave myself any room, so I'm going to have to use a ratcheting wrench this time. sure it's nice and tight. Let's get the wheel back on. Start on all 5 of your lug nuts, snug them up, and torque them to 80 foot-pounds. Take it for a road test and an alignment.